One thing that Jared and I have had to realize is he needs time in the bedroom to feel connected to me.
I wonder if that's all men.
I feel like, yeah, that's men across the board. I need to feel connected outside of the bedroom to want to do that in the bedroom.
Connection.
And that is where I think most marriages get in this cycle that they can't get out of.
Welcome to Permission to Be, where the messy middle finally gets a microphone.
Because let's be honest, life is not a highlight reel.
Here, we laugh at the absurd stuff, cry at the real stuff,
and talk about what it actually takes to find your way back to yourself. Hello, and welcome to Permission to Be. I am Shannon McClintock.
I'm Jane Box. We just decided to hit record because we were laughing right before because we're talking about our coffee mugs.
In case you're not on the video, they're both about as big as our heads.
I have traded up the 40 ouncers. What do you call them in college?
40s.
40s. I'm drinking a 40 of coffee.
Of organic, non-mold coffee with raw milk and vanilla bean.
Splash of honey.
Exactly. How times have changed.
I'm not mad about this.
But also, can we I like how we're just both holding it in the frame.
Such a
Can
promo.
we also just talk about how I genuinely believe that when somebody becomes a mom, if they drink coffee or even if they drink tea, they need to, instead of, you know, those awful like plastic water tumblers that they give you at the hospital when you give birth, they need to give out Yeti coffee cozy things, like, because this is the only way in Ichi double hockey stick that you are going to be able to drink a warm cup of coffee is if you have some sort of Yeti. If you ever want to sponsor me, I will sell the crap out of your products.
Brought to you by the Gold
Both
Deluxe.
are both Yeti. It is the only way that I have a warm cup of coffee.
100%.
And we are filming this right before I'm about to get in a road trip with my kids. So
how many hours are you going to be on the road?
5. My kids are actually, I'm knocking on wood if you can hear that. My kids are normally really, really good at the car. Like, as long as they got their tablet, do not shame me. As long as they've got their tablet and snacks. I mean, I have snacks upon snacks upon snacks upon snacks.
That's actually amazing. My son, after 20 minutes, Max is like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? This is the worst day of my life.
No.
20 minutes.
As long as they know where we're going. So they know that today we're ending up at the beach. And so
they're okay.
Fine. Yeah.
We wanted to go up to Steamboat Springs. It's 4 hours away. And my son said, yeah, the only way I can do that is if we get an RV, because then I can move around. Wow. So we've got that now on the bucket list.
No, my kid, that was like when my son decided to tell me that he's made the decision that he's not eating any meal twice in a row. Like, he's not eating leftovers.
Bless him.
And I very, very promptly told him that if he lives in this house, he is eating leftovers. And we like to travel, and we like to travel for cheap. So if my kids don't road trip, you're not going very many places, kid.
I feel that there's a connection there. We desire more traveling in 2026. We bought the big ass calendar. Shout out to Jesse Setzler and everybody who've created it. It's amazing. And so we're trying to figure out, where can we go? Like 1 week a month. What do we desire? And Henry's been very clear. If it's anywhere in Colorado, it's with an RV. You're like, okay.
Love that for you, kid. Love that. Yeah, that's actually why we're going on this road trip, actually. So when you guys listen to this, it'll be the first week in 2026. And I had this conversation before we get into it, the actual podcast today. We had a conversation about what do we want to, or what do we desire?
Good job.
Choose the right words. What do we desire to call in more of in 2026? And both of us agreed it was travel. So both of our kids are moving schools. We're not going to have crazy tuition. And we want to just kind of take that money and put it towards travel. And so we decided, what better way to start the new year than traveling? And then we're at 100% success rate.
Oh my gosh, I love that. What would you like to talk about today?
I have a topic that I can't imagine a lot of people won't resonate with, because at least you and I, it's been our truth multiple times throughout our marriage, is the idea of when your spouse feels more like a roommate. So like your spouse is a roommate. And
how many years have you been married?
I've been married for 11.
Okay.
15, so 11 years we've
16.
been, yeah. Well, didn't we figure out that we met our husbands almost at the exact same time? It's just that you and Seth got married like right away. We met in 2010.
We met in 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We dated for 4 years before, and you guys dated for like 40 days.
We got married in 40 days.
Oh God.
We went on 4 dates and then we got married. So
4 dates, 4 years, same diff.
number 4, one of my favorite numbers. But you're right. Show me a marriage that hasn't actually felt the roommate phase.
Yes. And I think what I would like to talk about today, I'm okay with this. You and I talked before, and I did clear it with my husband.
We got
He's good
permission
with me.
from our
We got
spouses.
permission. We got permission. We're not talking about this, and you're like, oh my God, does her husband know she's talking about this?
Yeah.
I want to share our journey in that, just because one of the things that you and I have talked about is that I think it is, especially, if you don't have kids, I can't speak to that just because that's not our reality. I do know that Jared and I did still find ourselves in roommate mode from time to time, even when we didn't have kids, just because work and life is crazy. But I do feel like it's easier to slip into it when there are other people who you are showing affection to. There are other people who are taking your attention. So many tasks, especially as moms, to take on. So I want to share that story so that if somebody else is like, oh my God, that's exactly what my husband and I are going through, my partner and I are going through, and then share how we course correct. So it doesn't stop. This is just like therapy to me. And that, when you don't get to a point where I'm healed and you never have a bad day. I don't know that my husband and I will ever stop occasionally slipping into it, but I do want to share how we've gotten to be able to name that and course correct so that it's not, we're not 6 months down the line being like, oh my God,
How did we get here?
Yeah, exactly. How did we get here? What do you think about that?
I love it. What I also love is that we have different approaches in our marriages for this exact conversation. So the listeners or the people who are watching this will be able to have different examples, not necessarily to pick from, but just to learn from. You want to go first?
Sure. Yeah.
Go for it. I'm going to chug my coffee while you talk.
For some reason, I also feel like it's important for people to know that my husband nicknamed you Russ when you share your marriage story.
Yeah. I have more boy mentality, boy habits. Is that why I'm Russ?
Like in relationship,
Totally.
I think. It's like, you joke sometimes that you would be better, not better off single, but that you could totally hack it just because.
No, my husband and I have talked about it. We're like, if we ever were to split or if, heaven forbid, one of us died, we would never remarry again, ever. Because it is hard. And it's not because we're fighting. It's just that you have another person that has to see your point of view or challenge you before you go down this path or go down that path, or how are you going to parent, or how are you going to pay the bills, and do you share the marriage bank account, and who pays the mortgage, and who pays the bills, and who does the grocery. And you're like, I just do it myself. I listen and hear nothing. So we're figuring it out that back to roommates, it's very easy to slide into it because of what I just said. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And it's also very difficult and challenging. But that is where we've learned there's beautiful balance when the balance comes. But you can't live in a balanced state forever. It comes, it fluctuates. And I think that's also really critical to the people hearing this, is that it's not perfect. Balance doesn't exist. You'll have moments of it and it'll be beautiful, and then it'll come apart, and then you use the tools that we're about to share to come back, knowing that it'll come apart, but it's the going back and forth, the fluctuation will become less.
Well, and I think you would have to live in a vacuum for a marriage to not fluctuate, right? Work is going to get harder than easier. Your kids are going to get harder than easier. And your marriage is this living, breathing thing. So expecting your marriage to stay the same or expecting it to not hit hard times when life is going to give you hard times, I think is incredibly unrealistic. And so it's one of those things of naming it, right? It's like, okay, if you know the valley's coming, you're prepared for it, and you don't just throw in the towel because you're like, okay, I knew this was coming.
Totally.
How do I get out of it?
Seth calls it the therapy. It's the pendulum with all the little balls that are attached to wires.
Yeah.
And so you drop one and then it ripple effects and goes the other. And so Seth says, if we're always just living here, he's like, that's not very interesting. And he says, I am more committed to the big swings because then I know how those big swings we can recover from it. And he goes, because when this goes this way, if it's a negative, he goes, I know that on the other side, it's a positive. And he said, so this he's not interested in. And he goes, but also we're never going to have the same fight 15 years later. He goes, then we're not growing. we're just surviving. And he goes, so I want to thrive with, okay, we've learned from this. Look how great it's going to be on this side.
Yeah.
And
My
so,
go ahead.
no, my point has been made.
Yeah. My grandfather always used to say the pendulum swings both ways, right? So it's like, as good as somebody is one way, you have to expect it to swing so if somebody is really, really emotional and over the top happy, their emotion is also going to swing the other way. Somebody who's just like, I'm okay, I'm da. Like, they're probably not going to swing farther both ways. Both you and I swing pretty far.
Yeah, but that's like the tattoo that I have, right? So it's like if you're looking at something in one way, what's the opposite?
Yeah.
What's the reflection?
Yeah.
And can you come back to that balance? Because the balance only lives for a brief moment and then go into the next growth period.
Okay. So we'll dive into it. My story. So like I said, my husband and I dated for 4 years before we got married. And then we didn't have kids. This requires me to do math for another 4 years. So we were solo for a long time.
Numbers of 4. I've seen a theme here.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and we had our ups and downs as far as marriage, just like anybody had. But the really big shift for us was definitely whenever we had kids. I say this knowing that I am obsessed with my husband. I love my husband. He is an incredible, incredible human being. And it's just the reality of two people living in a household. Like you said, it's two different opinions. He's his own whole self, and I'm my own whole self. And we're both very stubborn, and we raise stubborn human beings. So it is bound to happen. But I think one of the most important things to realize is that usually, and I'm not saying that this always, but usually it's not really one person's fault. I call it death by 1,000 cuts. It is these tiny little decisions along the way that all of a sudden you're like, I don't even know how I got here. It's, your first year of your marriage, you run in the door from work and you jump into their arms and you give them this big old passionate kiss and you're on each other. You have this passion, this heat between you guys.
I've got the lust painted in
my
mind.
Exactly. Right. And then it's like, fast forward a year. Okay. Work's handing you your butt. They walk in, still give a hug, still give a kiss, but it's not that passion thrummed sort of hug. Another year. Okay. Now I got a baby in my arms. So you walk by, you peck each other on the cheek instead of a hug. Here's the kid. Then it's years and years go by, and pretty soon it's walking in the door and walking past each other. Sometimes not even saying hi, sometimes hi, but we've had times where I've even noticed, and we do catch it because of what I'll tell you next, but where it's like, you'll say hi to the kids or you'll say bye to the kids and you won't say bye to your partner. Like, I had to catch myself even recently. I was headed off to pottery. I said goodbye to my son. I said goodbye to my daughter. And my daughter was literally like, you need to say bye to dad. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right. Oh my, and
they see everything.
Easy to do. It's so easy to do. So when we're talking about this, please know this is something that just, it is insidious. That becoming a roommate with your spouse. And one of the things that absolutely helped us, and this is, again, shout out, Chrissy, if you don't get some people out of this, our therapist, she's fantastic. But I remember her telling me that every single marriage has cycles. And what you have to do is kind of zoom out from your marriage and you'll start to see these cycles that happen. Everybody's is different. Ours usually looks like, we go on a vacation together, or work is dead, or like we're about to go on a road trip together and we have time and we reconnect. And it's like, this is why you're my person. I love this. And we're affectionate. And then you come home and it's like, okay, January starts. So here we go. It's like, go, go, go. And, we're still kind of riding off that and we're still hugging. And then it just becomes easier to, okay, if you focus on this kid, I got this kid, or, it's handling the logistics. And then probably if we don't watch it within 3 or 4 months, it's like, okay, he's sitting on that couch. I'm sitting in this chair. We give each other a peck at nighttime. And it's one of those things that it's really, really easy to slip into. And so I zoomed out from our marriage, and so did my husband. We had this conversation about what are the cycles in our marriage so that we can start to recognize the cycles. Because then it goes to roommate, right? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, we're in roommate mode. We need to have some connection time. So that's take a trip or go on a date night or whatever. And then that starts to cycle over again, right? So for us, it was recognizing, okay, when are we starting down that slide? what comes before roommate, we don't always catch it. Usually it has to get even like partially into roommate mode for us to fully catch it. Sometimes we do catch it before, but it's that slide that, okay, how can we reverse it back? How can we break that cycle, or not even break the cycle, but like if we are going to go into roommate mode, how do we stay there less time? So it's like if I'm roommate mode, instead of being there for 6 months or even a year, 2 years. I mean, there are people I've talked to that their marriage has been in roommate mode for years.
So how do you get out of it?
So for us, it's making conscious decisions to show each other some sort of affection or some sort of bit of connection. So the Gottmans, if you don't know them, it's Julie and John Gottman, I believe. They're super famous marriage therapists. And
I love that she says this, and I don't know who she's talking about.
My God. They can predict divorce with like a 95% success rate. It's crazy.
I don't want to meet them.
But one of the things that they talk about are bids of connection. So if your spouse makes a bid of connection, that you need to always match that bid of connection. Love languages. I know yours is gifts. My husband's is touch. And
yours is words of affirmation.
By far. Tell me how much you love me at any given place.
I do.
Time,
often.
place. Like I had to tell my husband that the other day. He gave me like a small compliment and I was like, you need to elaborate. I need to know every single way that I'm great.
Can you draw a picture with color?
Exactly. 1,000 word essay. How am I great? And I'm sure that you can relate to this. This was especially when we had young kids. I was completely touched out as a mom. And I didn't want touch. I didn't desire touch because I was getting that fulfilled, right? So you have a touch quota that your body wants, and then it goes into overstimulation mode. But his love language is touch. So for a really long time, I'm not ashamed to say, he didn't get very much touch because
you were touched out.
I was touched out. So it was like, I didn't want to snuggle at the end of the day. I didn't want to hold hands. And then also because he wasn't feeling connected, he wasn't giving me words of affirmation. Right. And so we both of our love tanks were just going down. And then and I think that really is kind of the start of roommate mode. So it's like the love tanks are empty, yet you still have to give to everything else in your life. And so honestly, I think it takes one person breaking that. So I had to, you and I have also talked about this, is I realized, I forget who told me that moms experience soft touch all day, right? Like your kids come by and it's those almost like creepy fingers that like,
or they crawl on you, or they want you to hold them. And
yeah, exactly. So I was getting overloaded with soft touch. So I remember telling my husband, like, I want you to squeeze me. Like if you come behind me and you want to grab onto my arms, like squeeze my arms. If you hold my hand, hold it. Don't just like,
yeah, differentiate yourself from everything else I'm experiencing.
And that's a different sensory load to your brain. That's a totally different quota that you have. So that's why, like, at the end of the day, no matter how touched out you are, that like real firm massage feels really good because it's a totally different pressure. So we started to learn tips and tricks to make it to where he could get touch fulfilled when I was still touched out. And I also, and I still do this, is I have to tell him, remember, my love language is words of affirmation. So he used to, early on in our marriage, he would leave me love notes all the time. Like it was amazing. And as life comes in, unless he goes on a trip, a lot of times those go away. And because he's not at all a words of affirmation person. He's like an actions speak louder than words sort of person. But I thrive on words of affirmation. So it's also taken an open dialogue of communication of saying, I need this. I need you to give me this. And then it takes him stepping up and actually doing it and not taking it as that I'm critiquing him, that he's not loving me correctly. I think that's a really important part, is being open that you're two imperfect people trying to make a relationship work. And so instead of assigning blame of who's responsible for the roommate, I love the Esther Perel quote of you can be right or you can be married. And so for me, a lot of times it's been like, okay, we're in roommate mode. I see we're in roommate mode. I don't feel like snuggling right now.
So when it comes to soft touch and hard touch, how is Jared, you're saying grabbing you, but is he doing other things than just grabbing you in the kitchen and holding your hand tighter? Like, what is he also doing outside of those two examples where you feel as though it's not soft touch with your children? Like, is he romancing you in the laundry room? Is he, in the bedroom telling the kids like, we'll be right down in a minute? And is he ravaging you? Because I also think that there's those spontaneous moments that can also, I think for you specifically with the hard touch, really take it and stretch it for you.
That's a really great question. I actually had a conversation with him recently because you're right. Foreplay for women, PSA to all men out there, foreplay for women starts well outside of the bedroom. Like it starts with, if I have to do a day full of chores while you haven't helped, you're probably not getting laid tonight. So
yeah, or if we're both doing chores at the end of the day, even if the husband and the wife are doing it, there has to be something that like ignites the flame.
I told my husband recently, I don't know what it is, but I love when he grabs my face, just like holds on either side of my face.
So he's not squeezing it and pushing
it. He's not squeezing it like, you're so cute. It's that passionate, I'm grabbing your face and kissing you. Just kiss the crap out of me. And I told him that recently. I did. I went up to him and I was like, I need you to just randomly throughout the day come up and grab my face and just make out with me for 30 seconds.
And did he do it that day, or did he spontaneously surprise you days later?
He has spontaneously done it days later. Actually, one day, I think I was on the phone with you and he walked in and he had this little smirk
I remember that
on his face. And I was like, what's happening? And I mean, he kissed me good. And then all of a sudden, and then he was gone. And I was like,
oh my God, I love that.
Oh my God, I'm sweating a little bit.
There's been a few times where I've actually taken Seth's phone away from him when he sits. We have these like very tall wing-backed chairs, and I will take his cell phone and I'll put it down and I'll just climb onto his lap and straddle him and just kiss him. And it's not even for minutes. Like it's literally just a very passionate kiss. And then I get back, I grab his phone, I hand it back to him, and I walk away.
I love that.
I love the fact that like he's doing it to you and I've done it to Seth. Now we just need to switch where then you do it to Jared randomly and Seth does it to me. And
I think it's the exact same thing. It's deciding, okay, I'm breaking this. I'm breaking this cycle. How can I break it? So what does that mean for me? I know that my partner loves touch. How can I go into that? If he notices it, or we name it now, we say, okay, I think we're in roommate mode. And that's not a dig at either person. It's we're there. Okay, so how do we get out of there? And so communicating with your partner, like you and Seth, how do you guys get out of it when you guys find yourself in it?
Well, before I do, I have to backtrack, because when you recognize that you're in a roommate phase, what's so easy, and I think probably more people do this than not, is they assume, well, if my partner could just do X or Y or BZ.
Yes.
Versus, and it was asked to me, how many of us would like to have more sex? And I was in a room with 56 other people and we all raised our hand. Okay. How many of you have initiated it when you want more sex? I don't even know if anyone raised their hand at the time. And he goes, it's so interesting that we desire more, but we are not willing to put ourselves out first into that arena of saying, okay, I desire it, so I'm going to go and get it. And then go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, do you feel like that's because, like, for instance, in a marriage, that if you put out a bid for connection and it's not met, that it's more devastating?
Sure, because that's childhood, right? If I want to go put myself out there and I've been rejected already, then why would I do it again? So we've been taught as a pre-programming at an early age that don't put yourself out there because there might be rejection versus, so what? You get rejected. Try it again. Like, there was that passionate year in your marriage. It still exists. So put the effort in first. And so I think far too often we want our partner to put in more effort, but we're not willing to put in the effort first.
Or you assign blame.
Right. And at the end of the day, if you're both getting what you want, does it really matter who initiated it? And it goes back to what you said. Do you want to be married or do you want to be right? I would like to be married.
And it's also, I think, realizing for women and men that the way that we feel connected is different. One thing that Jared and I have had to realize is he needs time in the bedroom to feel connected to me.
I need to feel men.
I feel like, yeah, that's men across the board. I need to feel connected outside of the bedroom to want to do that in the bedroom.
Connection.
And that is where I think most marriages get in this cycle that they can't get out of. Because it's like he doesn't feel connected because you haven't done it a while. And she doesn't feel connected because of outside things, because he doesn't feel connected in the bedroom.
Right.
And it's who's going to break first.
We've learned 3 years ago, I was introduced to the romance category within books. And what I've learned very much is that I can either escape my reality at the end of the day and go into a fantasy, and I can live vicariously through those characters. And or I can take what I'm learning that's hot and steamy, and I can then bring it into the bedroom. And I'm not perfect at this. There are times when I just want to be in the fantasy of that book. But there are other times when I can turn over in the morning to my husband and say, I'm really, really turned on. You want to fool around? You want to get frisky? Or do you want to fill in the blank? And it's working because what you said, I have found a way to connect myself back into it by allowing romance novels to bring me there, because our lives are full of chores and duties right now. And so to find time for us to connect isn't always easy. But instead of them casting blame, we are finding different ways. We also use toys.
Oh, I love that. What would you say if you were to zoom out? What is yours and Seth's cycle?
I've been an entrepreneur since 2010, 2011. So I can get really into that rabbit hole of work, work, work. It's all on me, right? You're all of the hats that go into owning a business, you carry all of them. And so for him, he has vocalized that he feels as though he's not on the two front burners of a stove. He's in the very, very back.
I like that analogy.
So I have business on one front stove burner. I have my children, I have the duties, then I have the dog and the household, and then he's back. And we notice that is a very great example of when we're on the couch at the end of the day. All the kids want to crawl on me, even the dog. I have the blanket on, I'm reading a book, they're watching their TV. But here is my husband on the side of the couch because he is in the back burner. And I remember Chrissy said, so what would it look like to change that? And she goes, would it mean getting a bigger couch? And the first thing I was like, well, wait, that costs money. Money I'm not willing to part with, right? And she goes, so you're
is there a cheaper option?
Right. So she said, you're willing to continue down this path where he's not feeling seen or touched or heard because you don't want to spend the money, which could inevitably help your marriage. You're like, well, when you put it that way,
Thanks,
fine.
Chrissy.
Right. I'm in resistance because I'm wrong. And so what did we do? All of a sudden, there became this beautiful big couch available for a really amazing price. That's divine intervention. We put it downstairs so we watch movies downstairs so we can all be together. I talked about this on episode 3 that society says that you have to do the thing, to be the thing, to have the thing. So in the morning, we used to say, how are you doing? What do you need to get done today? And how can I support you? It's great that he asks or I ask him, but we're already quantifying our success on the day of what we can get done.
Mm-hmm.
Versus sit down, have half of this coffee before the children need something.
20 ounces.
Right. And say, how are you being today? How are your emotions? How are you feeling? What's your gut check? Right. Did you sleep well? Did you not? Are you stressed? Are you trepidatious about something? And it's not perfect and it's not easy because you're so used to going back to, well, I have to do. Versus let's just have coffee and say, how are you being? What do you desire? What would you love to accomplish today for you, not for what you have to get done? And so we've started to adopt this over the last few months. It's helping a lot. Again, we're not perfect though. There are days we just go right into, I got to get this done. But I do feel as though the being and the emotion really can help because as you and I both know, women have phases in 30 days, right? We have creative, we're horny, we have don't touch me, we have I'm now, bleeding. I should go into the red tent with all the other women and just
Can you please bring back the red tent? Just please.
And so it's also having our spouse recognize that how I am on day 1 is not how I'm going to be on day 28. And so
Society needs to recognize that.
So it goes back to how are you being? Right now, I'm ragey. I'm hungry. I have to poop. I don't feel pretty. I have a pimple on my chin. Don't touch me. Don't look up close at me. Or I stink because I'm in perimenopause. Or I'm really horny. Can we go into the closet really fast? And so I find that men could hopefully listen to this and realize there's so many different elements to the roommate phase and the marriage phase because we are living human beings that fluctuate every 30 days.
And if there's one message, if I could say to take away from, if you're sitting there nodding your head being like, yep, I'm in roommate phase. I'm there. I don't exactly know how to get out. I think the first step is just deciding, okay, we're in it and I'm choosing that we're going to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that likely will mean that you're going to have to put yourself in a position that's going to be vulnerable or that you're going to put a bid out for connection. And I'm not going to say that it's going to be met perfectly because, again, we will very, very openly share about our marriages and things. And while my marriage is in a really amazing place, it's taken a lot of work to get there. I don't say this in that you're going to go to your partner and put out a bid for connection and it's going to be met with the most perfect response. And all of a sudden you're back out of roommate mode and it's going to be amazing. It probably will fumble in the beginning because that's what it did with me. This getting out of the cycle has taken us years to
But you're
actually
also
get to.
And you're so good though at being intimate with your husband. Whereas my husband and I, we struggle right now. I'm so tired at the end of the day, and he's tired because he's helping with the kids. And so we are lucky, blessed, fortunate, grateful if we can have intimacy once a week. Right now, it's like once every 3 weeks. And that is not something we both desire, right? We want to get back to it. And so when I said it goes back to toys, someone recently said that I'm in the roommate phase, Jane, and it's really awkward. Right? Like, how do you even start kissing again or fool around? Like, it all feels so new and like I've never done this before. And does this feel good? And I go, I am there. I get that. And so when I say toys, I don't say that lightly. I say sometimes it helps because it's almost like you're bringing in something that you both can focus on that versus on this awkwardness that's going on between you and your partner. And before you know it, then it starts to have fun. And I speak from experience because I've been in roommate phase a lot.
Challenge, if you are in that roommate phase and it feels awkward or it feels fumbly, I wonder if you could do a perspective shift because you remember the first lead up to your kiss. There was butterflies, but it was also awkward. Like, oh my God, is he going to kiss me? I don't know if he's going to kiss me. Is he going to? I don't know.
Totally.
Like, what if in your mind you replayed it back to, okay, this is almost like us dating again. This is that lustful energy of like, I want that person again.
Totally. I have to get there. I don't have to. Like, I definitely desire it. I also have to get out of my head because the first thing is like, well, did I brush my teeth? Does he have food in his teeth? Did I shower? Do I stink? And so I focus on all the other non-important things, right? Because when you have that first kiss after you have gone on a date, do you actually think about, does he have food in his teeth? Do I have food in my teeth? Or do you just like go for it?
I mean, I think both. Definitely have had the like, oh my God, do I have food in my teeth?
Well, now I do, right? Because we're little like gorillas. We like pick at each other.
I love that.
But I'm being like, this is the deal. Permission to be real, right? I find all of the things that I don't like right now. And he's finding all the things that he doesn't like. And we call it. And so 2 days ago, we had an argument in front of our children and both our kids are like, can you stop? And I said, I understand that you don't like that mommy and daddy are having a fight, but here's what I will always promise you. I'm always going to fight in front of you because I find it critical that you also see that mom and dad come to a resolution in front of you, because I don't want them to get into a relationship and think that it's always perfect or that you fight and you don't make up, because I grew up in a home that fought and then I never saw the makeup. And so when Seth and I got into our second year of marriage, we had some really big drag them out fights and I became a scorpion because I didn't know how to find resolution versus I'm going to jab at you. I'm going to hurt you and then I'm going to retreat. And so we've come a really long way in 15 years where we argue, we put it all out there. And now we're also learning, is this our pre-programming? Is this our past coming into this conversation? Is this because we got burned in the past, so we think that's what's happening now? Or can we just acknowledge that we're just frustrated, right?
Mm.
Are we actually fighting because we're mad at one another, or are we fighting because it was a hard day?
Great point.
Hence, we do it in front of the children, and people might disagree with me, but I would very much like them to see that you can have conflict and resolution out loud. So that way, when they have children or they find a partner, that they know that this is also a way that you can have an argument. So you don't have to be the scorpion.
Yes.
Right. We're really clear on how we're now arguing.
It was and I think that this is amazing. It was shown to me in a scale. So there's unproductive conflict, there's productive conflict, and then there's like overreactive conflict, right? And so it is that scale of think arguing in front of your kids when you're in that middle ground of you're not taking cheap shots, you're not throwing out huge ultimatums, you're not throwing out the D word every 5 seconds as like your go-to, then it's showing your kids. So on one end, I like to call it artificial harmony. And that was how I grew up, was a lot of artificial harmony where it looks fine on the surface, but it's just that nobody's talking about the stuff that actually needs to be talked about. And I think that's another thing that leads to roommate mode is either we fight too much. We're on one end of the spectrum where we fight and we go for the jugular and it's low blows. That's that scorpion, right?
I used to do it.
Here's an ender. Like, I got it.
Take this.
I'll take you out by your Achilles. And then there's the other end, which is I just want peace.
Right.
I don't care
pendulum.
where it's at, right? I don't care what I have to do to get it. And so when you are in that middle ground of again, back to the Gottmans, they talk about that healthy, productive arguments actually make a marriage stronger because you are figuring out, okay, this person's different from me in this way. But, just to kind of connect that loop where you were talking about how you and Seth are lucky maybe once every couple weeks. I mean, Jared and I have been there before. And
we've talked
this
about this.
really goes back to the you can be right or you can be married. I know what that means to my husband. I know at one point, he doesn't kill me for sharing this, but at one point I remember him coming to me and be like, you're the only person that can do that. Like you're the only person, like, and I'm the only person. But one of the things that's helped both of us, I know, is romance, is reading romance. And I remember being really, really vulnerable talking to my husband about, there was a part of me that wanted to lie at what I was reading, like shameful. Was he going to judge me or be intimidated or anything? And so I remember telling him about that I was reading romance novels and him asking me why I was reading romance novels. And I had asked him if it bothered him and he said no. But then my response to him was, I think what most women who read romance novels do it for is that there's not a whole lot that's sexy about motherhood. Right? I'm covered in somebody else's spit, pee, poop, food. Like when you're playing the game Poop or Chocolate, there's not a whole lot that's like, ooh, yeah, now ravage me. Right?
Yeah. How many years did we not wear anything nice because it was inevitable?
I still don't. I still buy everything from Target because I know that one or both of my kids are going to do something to it.
If anyone knocks Target, though, they're not our audience.
Very true.
Like, let's just be clear. Target has lasted decades.
I mean, connection there. And it's like for years after you have kids, your body doesn't feel like yourself. And you and I are in the throes of early perimenopause where, again, our body is changing. So if you are a guy listening to this, realize that it might not be you necessarily. It might be that your partner is going through more changes than she can say grace over. So I listen to it to essentially not disassociate, not escape, but to transport me to a different place where it's like, oh, okay, there is that spark. There is that moment, that sensation in your body where you're like, oh, it does still work.
Totally.
Like it all still works.
And like, honey, can I read this too? Can we try this? Right?
Exactly. My husband actually asked me, he was like, if you really like a part, can I read it?
Yes. That's like,
yes,
what about
100%?
Seth will read certain series that I think are amazing. He's like, the writing could have been better, but I get it. I was like, great. Can we try it?
Not reading it for the writing, Seth.
No. But I want to share. So last night, we've been sleeping downstairs in the basement. We have a king bed and then we have a queen mattress that we put on the floor and we made it really like magical. It's so special. And we've made these really big choices for our family. And I feel as though I am Santa Claus every day when we all get down and they're so joyous and we're all falling asleep really early and we're sleeping big durations. And we've never had this happen. And I'm loving it. And Seth had mentioned the other day, he goes, so when are we going to migrate back upstairs? Right? Really love our bed and I love our alone time. And I was never. I'm loving this. And so he said, can we start to migrate back upstairs? And I was nope. This is my jam. And he got really upset. And we were over at my mother's house celebrating my daughter's birthday. And I felt attacked and ganged up on me, saying this isn't healthy, this isn't normal. And instinctually, I'm like, my kids are falling asleep. We're really sleeping well. We're enjoying it. We're having these magical moments. We're making up make-believe stories at night. We're reading, and my son's reading levels just blossomed. And I sent you some pretty heated text saying, I am so upset. And I'm in the bathroom peeing, texting her saying, what is this? Why is this? And I fully anticipated, because she is my person and I hope someone has a person that can see them for them, just allow me to rage. And Shannon said, I feel you. Do you want to be heard or do you want to be helped? And we can talk about this in another episode, but there's these 3 H's that we have adopted in our relationship, Shannon and I, to really support one another. And I said, oh, fine, I need to be helped.
Very begrudgingly.
Totally. I was very begrudging, but she's my person. So I know her advice isn't to make her look better. It's to support me. And there will be a time I said, no, just let me be mad. And so she said,
At first you said you just wanted to be heard.
I said, just here. And then I said, okay, now help me, but please be gentle with me because I need you to know that this is something that is so special right now. And I understand that probably to the rest of the world, or maybe for the United States, it's not normal to co-sleep, but I'm loving it. And you said, what if there was a balance, right? If you don't put your marriage, and she didn't say this, but this is my analogy. If you don't put your marriage from the back burner to the front burner, then what are you doing? Because that roommate phase is just going to keep being bigger, and the gap and the pendulum is just going to be really small because you're not
I
even
said it
having.
nicer than that, so we're all clear.
She totally did. She totally did. And so I sat there and we sang happy birthday and we had dinner, and I was in my head thinking, all right, I'm in resistance. Intellect is low because my emotions are high. Don't make any rash decisions. Don't say anything out loud. Just feel it, right? Don't be fake about it. Acknowledge that this hurts. And then what can I do? And I got out a piece of paper and I sat there with my kids and I said, okay, here's the thing. Daddy would like this to be special, and he's not saying every day. He's saying we can do this throughout the week. But we also need to go back upstairs and have our own rooms for several parts of the week. How can we all work together to do this? And what I did was, instead of making the unilateral decision of we're doing this or that, or even bringing Seth in, I was like, what if we brought the whole community together? And it was my daughter's idea that said, what if Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're all in our rooms? Thursday, Friday, we're downstairs. Saturday, spend the night at my mom's. And she goes, and Sunday, we're downstairs. So it's like 3 and 3. And so I looked to Seth, and Seth said, that's great. And I have to give, like, my best friend helped me by seeing me and hearing me and helping me process it without judgment, without tone, without bringing her life into the story. She just sat with it with me. I just sat with it before becoming irrational, and look at what we were able to accomplish. And it was beautiful. And so I think that's another example of, I could have kept going in the roommate phase by sleeping downstairs because I love it so much, but then I put my marriage in the back burner. And by doing this, I'm carving ourselves out of the roommate phase slowly.
But I want to give you props that was, and I even told you this yesterday, you can be right or you can be married.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that so many things can be fixed by just having that thought of, is this a hill that I want to die on? Is this a hill that I want my marriage to die on? That, okay, if he's not going to make a move, then I'm not.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, so now you're both just miserable.
Right.
And
Which
you're
goes
both
back.
not getting what you want.
Totally.
But sure, you're safe, but you're miserable.
But are you safe?
Well, you're what your brain deems as safe.
Right. Until all of a sudden the D word is coming into the conversations because you don't know how you got there. So I think that the roommates it's a very natural phase to be in, but we're hoping through this 45-minute podcast, there are some nuggets that people can take on, tools to get out of it. And it starts with, instead of you hoping for a change, that you are willing to put yourself out there first to create the change. And
I think it's naming it and like naming it with your spouse. You know, it's, if I can tell you the biggest thing that has changed mine and my husband's marriage, it's figuring out how to truly communicate with each other, because we don't communicate the same at all. We are like polar opposite communicators.
Yeah, same. We hug and we kiss.
Yes.
And we're having the touch because I genuinely do desire it, but I want to put him on the front burner.
And it's so little bitty things you can do, tiny, tiny steps. If having the conversation feels too daunting, when you walk in the door, go give your partner a hug. When you walk in the door, if kissing them on the mouth doesn't feel right, like kiss them on the cheek, or tell them that you miss them, or send them a text message that you were thinking about them.
That's a good thing.
Something that's going to start that. I mean, because you got a boulder to move. Getting out of the roommate phase feels like a boulder that you're moving, but you have to start pushing it somehow. So as tiny as it might feel, it is a bid for connection. And if your husband or your partner or whoever it is puts out a bid for connection, you need to also match that. You can't wait for them.
No. Seth informed me that when I hug, I do the pat, pat, pat.
Good game.
This is where Shannon's husband says Russ, right? Because I do have a lot of those tendencies. And even my husband has called me out on it. So now instead of me going on top, I go underneath. I hug him right from his chest to his back, and I just hold him. And then he holds me, because then I don't do the shoulder pat, pat, pat. I'm learning.
I'm also telling you, though, for any gentleman listening, grab your wife by the face and kiss her. I can pretty much guarantee you will not be disappointed with the results.
Seth
and for
has
my
started
husband
to
who's
spank
listening,
me. Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. Keep doing it, dude.
Seth and my son likes to say I have a juicy booty. It's jiggly. I haven't done any exercise on the booty. And so Seth the other day, he started to like grab it, and he's like, it is juicy. And I was like, keep doing that. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah, I actually really liked that.
Yeah.
And then spank it. And he goes,
right?
really? I'm like, yeah,
Push me up against the wall.
Right,
and
let's try
kiss
it.
me. Just something.
There's a reason why romance is $1 billion industry.
Right?
I mean, let's take
Women
some
are not
pointers.
reading it and being like, I'm super turned on by that, but I'd never want to experience it in person. I mean, there are some of it that I'm like, ooh, I think I'm okay. But a lot of it, I'm like,
I'm not going to knock anything
yes,
until I've tried.
please.
So permission to grab your partner, kiss them.
And also,
Spank them,
if your
have fun with
spouse is
them.
not listening to this, I had to take that moment of knowing that my husband might judge me, but telling him, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to grab my face and just kiss the crap out of me.
He nailed it.
He did.
I
and
like
it
that.
works.
Well, in 1 week, we'll get back online and you should ask me how it was transitioning back into the upstairs bedrooms.
Again, that's you making the bid that your marriage matters and that you want it to continue to be good, because that's also really good for your kids.
And as we've all mentioned, permission to be as you come along this journey with us. We said from the very beginning, we don't have all the answers. And you got to see in lifetime how I'm working through it.
And we are still in the messy middle.
Always. Thank you for tuning in. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe and to follow us and to comment and to share.
Oh, and if you would leave a review, that would help us immensely.
Because we're not going away.
Nope. And 2026 is just going to get bolder and bigger.
Yes, it
so
will.
Buckle up.
Till next time. Have a nice day.
Right. Bye. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us in the messy middle. If this episode made you feel seen, laugh a little, or think, wow, it's not just me, then you are exactly who this space is for.
And if you want to keep these conversations going, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And if you know another woman who's navigating hormones, motherhood, or just the general chaos of being human, send this her way.
And remember, we listen, we don't judge, and you don't have to have it all figured out to belong here. We'll see you next time.